Hi, welcome to Bear Talk and Bear Academy podcast. I'm Bear, your host, a product designer who lives and works in Auckland, New Zealand. And from today, I decided to experiment a little bit on my podcast format, which means that I want to combine some topics that I want to share in one episode. And later, I can also share them separately on my video channel. So let's see how it works. Today, I have 3 topics to share with you. The first is about Figma and Adobe inquiries. So this is not already a news anymore. It was announced a few weeks ago, and which was a bomb on design community. But I have some thoughts about that and would like to share with you first. The second is about some tips that I found might be helpful for anyone who want to land a design job in design industry. Those are the tips that I observed from my successful students who got design jobs after a course. And I think those are the tips really helpful if you are in the same situation. And the third thing I want to share is just another tip how we can manage our time and effort and attention without distraction from this guy, your device, your mobile device. Right, so those are the topics I want to share. Let's jump into the first one, how I think about Figma and Adobe inquiries. So I think it's quite interesting because when I heard the news that Adobe is going to acquire Figma with $20 billion, that was a morning news that I read from LinkedIn. And I just woke up and feel, what? Is that happening? Is that real? Is that not a joke? And my wife was so surprised that why I was so surprised by this news. It's not something we do. It's probably not impact our daily life, right? And I said, no, it's Adobe and Figma. And it definitely impact my daily life because I use it more often than having time with you and my kid. And you know what's the result would be if you answer your wife like that. But yeah, as a joke, this is just a joke. But after a few days, I thought about it, and I think that's actually not that big news at first, because now I have some more thoughts, some proper time to consider this. So then I write a post on LinkedIn to share some of my feelings, my thoughts, and surprisingly, just a few lines which got nearly 30,000 impressions, and also more than 150 interactions, like comments or likes, and many comments. Really interesting. So I would like to share more about this post. So what I feel from a designer's point of view. So first, I think it's okay if they make this business decision, because Figma doesn't own me anything. So this more like a business strategy choice, not a betrayal or breaking commitment. It's not like a rich guy takes your boyfriend or girlfriend thing. So it's not personal in a short. So don't be emotional. But I do think that Figma didn't communicate well or do the reading room about how designers feel about Adobe, especially Adobe, right? And that's definitely they can improve. And the second point, now we have best product design tools compared to 10 years ago. And, people might use Figma to doing some graphic design rather than product design. And we know that Figma knows that, because now we have much more options if we want to choose other tools or other apps for doing product design or screen design. So if Figma doesn't do well and screw designers' trust by doing things like Adobe CC, Figma CC, or any stupid thing that Adobe already done before, Adobe like Figma will do something similar, yeah, people will just leave Figma without coming back. And we know that. And I think those smart guys in Figma, they also knows that. So that's another point. And the third point is the world seems potential with the market. So yeah, this is just about the result, like $20 billion. That's just in a few years. That's amazing. And I think it's an excellent incentive for entrepreneurs who want to create something awesome and also show that how big this market is, how much potential it has, and which would be a drive for many new entrepreneurs. And we might have better tools considering this. So which is a really good way to do that. And AI aided design probably not far away. So yeah, I'm keen to see what will go on in the next few years. And the fourth point, a good product designer shouldn't spend more than 30% of their time in Figma and spend more time on communication, presentation, sketches, and more importantly, thinking. So as long as Figma hasn't been involved as part of my design thinking process, it's okay. So this is more like a reflection rather than a suggestion. And I also got a feedback from a designer below, said people using Figma for different use cases. So it plays a much bigger role in their operations. So it's not only for product designer. That's a really good point. And it was said by Eddie Zurita, a UX specialist from 2 Degrees, New Zealand. Awesome, Eddie. I totally agree in that. And this, as mentioned, this is more like a self-reflection. So as a product designer myself, I think I should not spend so much time in Figma, because that's just a small scope of the whole picture. And I want to spend more time on thinking and my strategy and other things. So yeah, that's another point as a fourth point. The fifth point, I started my design career with Flash 15 years ago, and now it was gone when Adobe owns it. It spurns me. So that's why I don't like Adobe. One of the reasons I don't like Adobe. But it's probably hard to say that is Adobe's fault, because time flies and product evolves, and people just leave old product for new one. So nothing to complain. And what is a good reminder for me that why I feel negative about Adobe, because there are so many things they're doing wrong, like Acrobat Reader. What an awful experience of reading PDF with that file. And sometimes even when you open a PDF file with an Acrobat Reader, it will change the format, and then for some security reason you cannot open it again, which is an awful experience. And don't get me started on latest Photoshop or Illustrator or other great tool that they ruined. And most of the time I'm using Illustrator. It's just to open the file. People just sent an illustration file to me, and I just open it, copy the document, open Figma, paste it there, done. And then I just dismiss Illustrator. So this is how I use it. And also a lot of things that Adobe didn't do well, and I really don't like it from a designer's point of view. So that's just another bad reminder. And the final reminder for myself, I should not be disturbed by a tool's business decision. People are much more important than that, because I think I regard myself as a realist. So as a realistic person, and I don't want to spend much more attention and my energy that's valuable on things I cannot control, like another company's business decision. This is out of my control. Yes, I need to shout out for what I don't like and what I like, and so that make sure that I expressed and make sure that people might hear my opinion. But then I need to move on and focus on things that matter to me rather than things matter to other people. So the last point is actually just a self-reminder. And after that, I start to think about this thing. Even I don't like it. I don't like Adobe, and I really don't want to see Figma will be ruined by Adobe's business strategy. And I think the best way that these two companies can work together is like a Netflix business model. Like for Netflix and other movie directors, Netflix just invest, give you the money, and then you do your thing, right? Okay, I don't want to be mess your decision. You just do your thing, and if you need money, great, take my money. And I really hope that the business model between Adobe and Figma would do something similar like that, and Adobe just give them the resource Figma need, provide the resource, the money, all the things, and keep Figma doing things they are doing awesome. That will be best. But who knows? That's the ideal situation, and keen to see it will happen like that. Right, that's my 2 cents on Figma Adobe inquirers, and hope that makes sense for you. Right, let's move on to the next topic I want to share, which is another article that I wrote a few weeks ago. And I want to talk about this topic as well, because I think it could be really valuable. 8 things those successful job-landed UX students have from a design mentor's observation. Yes, this topic is about what I've learned from some students who I helped for a few years, and all of them successfully landed a design job. Some of them are really got some great title from some large companies. Some people got some beginner's job from small companies, but they all successfully landed their first job and transitioned from a previous role, which is, I think, is awesome. So I observed some of their patterns are the same. So that's what I want to share from this article. I will share the link in this description of this video below. But yeah, now let's just walk through them. So yeah, a few months ago, I received a message that showed me that another student got a job offer. So in the last 1 or 2 years, I helped more than 10 design students to land their job, and I observed some similar patterns. So here are 8 of them. First, they knew and use their unfair advantages. So this is the biggest part, that for anyone who's learning design, you might already have some great competencies from your previous job or from what you already got. And your job as a designer, the first job as a designer, even when you just started learning, is to find a connection between your previous experience to the dream job and find something you can use. And that's what I mean unfair advantages. For example, I'm a Chinese native speaker, so Chinese is my native language. And if I want to get a design job opportunity, speaking Chinese could be my unfair advantage if I'm want to compete with other people who want to get the same job in Chinese market, right? So this is about to find those unfair advantages. So for example, a mentee that I'm helped is good at focus on consuming lots of information in a short time. So she got a research job. Another mentee used her sales skills. So before learning design, she was a salesperson, and then she used her sales skills to negotiate and get a designer's contract and then get a full-time job. So which I think is really awesome. So find those connections. If you are a teacher, you're probably good at leading people. If you are a salesperson, you're probably good at persuade people. And if you are for example, an architect, you're probably good at strategy thinking. So find those connections and find those things that you are really good at and take advantage of it. Second, they all have working experience. So this could be a harsh truth for UX roles. If you just graduated from any school, it's probably hard to find your first job. And especially UX job, because UX is about solving complex problems with a team, and people with previous working experience are more likely to be hired. What about if you're just graduated and don't have any working experience? I would suggest to get some experience at first. Get an internship, volunteering on things, or do some side project. So yeah, anything. Just try to get some real world experience as soon as possible. And if you can do that before looking for a job, that will be a really solid step between your current stage and your dream job stage. The third findings is they all failed a few times. So this is not a secret, right? So you cannot get a job once you submit only one application, right? It cannot happen. You might fail a lot of times. And I have to say that some of those students who actually just started at first as a freelancer or as a contractor, and then started to find a better job later. So that one opportunity can guide you to another one. So yeah, be sure you're ready for some falling, for some rejections, but that will happen and you are going to get used to it, and it's good for you for the long term. Yeah. Personally, I also got a lot of rejections when I started to be a UX designer at first. Right, the fourth tips, they're all good at communication. It's not about extrovert or introvert, and it's not even about native speakers or non-native speakers. So communication is a really essential for designers, actually for any types of professionals. This is really one of the fundamentals that you want to really good at. I would suggest to find some different ways for your communication. You can improve things like listening, speaking, right? If you're not a native speaker like myself, you can learn and get used to and improve it for sure. But also you can try to find some ways that you are good at and try to take the advantage at it. For example, if you're good at drawing, if you're a visual person, great. You probably can do some sketches or use photos to describe what you feel and deliver the message. If you're good at telling stories, great. That will be awesome. You could be a storyteller. And if you're good at facilitate workshop or discussions with other people, yeah, use that for communication. So really on this part, like take the ownership of your communication and really improve it. And yeah, the fifth point, they all have a mentor. And as a reminder, mentor is not a teacher. So this is especially important for junior designer because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know if you're doing things right or wrong. And it would be really good to get a mentor to help you. And now you can find mentors using social media. And thanks for COVID, now people get used to be reached out or to reach out people. If you haven't got a chance to meet them in person, that's okay. So yeah, I would suggest to find a local or a mentor and check with her or him regularly about your progress. So it's more like a coach, right? So try to find that person. And number 6, they learn design by doing it. So all those people that who successfully landed a job, they are doing things by learning things by doing it. And yeah, that's what I feel is really common. And also, after you complete a project, you will have some learnings and it will be a good story to share. So make sure you spend some time to practice things, not only to learn the theory, but more importantly, really build things, really try to do something and use it as an example to share a design process, design progress. Right, okay. Number 7, they didn't complain. Right, so those are the students I find really interesting because, yeah, a lot of things happened during their journey. And to be honest, it's really a long journey from the moment you started to learn design and the moment you got an offer. It's not a short journey. It could be months or even with a few years. And there are definitely ups and downs. But I don't see those people who succeed at last, they complained or they just say, oh, they find excuses. So they didn't complain. They just find, oh, this is something I didn't do well. I'll try to improve it. Now I'm frustrated that I didn't do well, but nothing to be complained because I'm taking the ownership of the whole journey, and I'm sure I can improve later. So those are the mindsets that they have, and I'm really happy to see this is the right attitude and highly recommend. All right, so the last point, they deal with constraints well. So this part is, as a realistic situation, everyone will have limitation and constraints. For example, if you are learning design on your free time, you probably don't have too much time on learning as a full-time student, right? And if you, like myself, at the beginning, you are not a native speaker, you probably struggled on understanding the knowledge from another language, right? So those are the things, and you probably take slow step to learn things. So those are the things as your constraint, and try to design a way to deal with those constraints. And even better, if you can find a good way to turn those constraints into opportunities, that could be better. I think I can take myself as an example because at the beginning, when I started to learn UX, and I take much slower progress because language is hard. Right, I think I lost my video. Let me rewind it again and to see if it works. Okay, it works. Cool, now I'm back. It happened again. It happened before, so yeah. Right, and let's get started again. So take myself, for example. At first, when I started to learn design in English, the progress is much slower than now because my reading speed and listening speed is take more time to consume those content. And then I started to practice listening with with some intention, and then I started to practice listening with faster speed, and now I can easily listening any non-fictional content in 1.5 speed, so that it can help me to consume more knowledge than I used to be. And this is more like turning my limitation into an opportunity. But you got my point. So yeah, those are the 8 tips. Let's read it one more time as a wrap up. Those students, those successful job landers, they knew to use their unfair advantage. They all have working experience. They all failed a few times. They all good at communication, and they all have a mentor, and they learn design by doing it. And they didn't complain, and they deal with constraints well. So I hope that helpful, and if it's can inspire you on doing something good, do let me know. I'm keen to know your progress. But yeah, that's the second thing I want to share with you today, the 8 tips for successful job lander. Right, okay. So now the final point I want to share is digital hygiene. This sounds like a really interesting topic, but today I just want to share one small tip, one practical tip that can improve your productivity. So for us as designer, we are knowledge workers, and if you're a developer or any types of knowledge worker, getting to the flow mode is really important, which means that you can really focus on the things you're doing and make some progress without any distraction. But there are so many distractions around us, and this guy is the biggest distraction source, right? Our smartphone. And I think the modern smartphones is a really genius design, but it's also designed to attract your attention with different ways, in many ways. For example, sounds, notifications, red dots, and vibration, you name it. There are so many ways can distract you, can raise your attention, and it's basically inevitable to avoid because they are designed to target our primitive behavior like a human being, and you cannot run away from it. So I think there are also some study, like now I see a video, report here. This is a study, this is a post from the Atlantic website. It shows that a 3-second interruption disables your odds of messing up, which means that if you only take 3 seconds, like 3 seconds to check your email, bang, you probably distracted, and it's really hard to pick the things up again. So because of that, I think if you want to deal with it while you're working, you will need to eliminate those distractions from your smartphone, and so that you can really focus on the things you want to work. You're creating value with your time. So this is what we want to do, because this guy is the major distraction source in your workplace. But how to eliminate all the distractions? The simple way, just hide it, right? Just put it in another room or lock it in your car or somewhere that you're not easy to get. Maybe put it in another floor or other places. Because you might think, oh, probably don't need, I just hide it. But study also shows that if you put your smartphone like upside down on the table, it still draws your attention. You still, if you can see it, you are still distracted from this device. So the best way would be just remove it from your eyesight. And what I do, I normally will block 1 or 2 hours per day as my focus time. And during that time, I will focus on the work, normally a design work or a thinking progress or a thinking project about thinking, or sometimes just try to document things. And in that focus time period, I don't want to be interrupted. So I will put my phone away in another room during that focus time. But sometimes it's not that easy, because if your work requires to check your mobile frequently, for example, if you're a mobile designer, if you're a mobile app designer, or if you're a social media marketer, how about that? And I would suggest to go to another way, another handy tip to reduce the intense level of those distractions. So one tip is to switch your phone to Grayscale at work. And this is what I do. Let me show you. And here's what my phone looks like in like as usual. And if I triple click my power button, and you can see now it's switching to the grayscale mode. So just black and white, and it can easily reduce the distraction. For example, it's probably not easy to see the red dots on the top of the apps, right? And if I triple click the power button, it will come back into a color mode, and you can easily see the red dots on those apps. And how to do that? Here's a interesting point. This is a funny tip. So just tap settings on your device, on your iPhone. I don't know how to do that on Android. Sorry, Android folks, but you probably will figure it out. So for iOS, for iPhone, just settings, and then go to the accessibility feature, and then you can go to the color filters at let me see, where is it? Shortcuts. Well, at the bottom of the menu, accessibility shortcut, color filters, and just tap it, and then make sure you select color filters. And then when you triple click the side button, and it will be activated. And at the top, if you check the where is it? Yeah, it's on the same place. Color filter. Yeah, it's on the accessibility menu. Or the other way is to right now I find it. Sorry. Yeah, it's in the accessibility and display and text size, and then here you can see color filters. Now it's off because that's the reason I didn't see it. Tap it and you will see color filters, and if you enable it, and there are a few options like red green filter, green red filter, blue yellow filter, color tint, or grayscale. Select grayscale as enabled selection, and then turn it off, it will show things as a usual way, and turn it on, it will show things as a black and white way. And then you can use the side button from the shortcut to enable it. Right, okay, so hope it helps. And remember, as a web app, your smartphone is a great invention, an awesome tool. So use it wisely to improve your productivity. So use it, not be used by it, not the other way around. Right, so this is the third thing, the last thing I want to share on this episode, and I really hope you like it. If you have any comments or thoughts, feel free to share on the comment below or send me an email. You can also subscribe my email newsletter so that I will share something about design, productivity, or technology regularly with you. And make sure you subscribe my YouTube channel if you like it, and my podcast Bear Academy for English speakers, and Bear Talk 狗熊有话说 for Chinese speakers. Great, and thanks for listening. I'll see you and talk to you in another episode. Bye.